Have you ever wondered how long it takes to build a house in the United States? Well, according to Google, the answer is between 6 to 8 months. And I can vouch for that. I'm building a house from the ground up right now. I've been working on this thing for like 6 months, and it's probably gonna be another 4 months before I'm done. But just because a house usually takes 6 to 8 months to build doesn't mean that it's actually 6 to 8 months worth of work. I mean, the biggest reason that this house is going to take 10 months to build is because, for one, my contractors just simply can't be here every day. They've got lives and other jobs to work on. And for two, there's just a lot of things that slow you down on projects like this, whether it's bad weather, waiting on materials, or waiting on city inspectors, stuff like that. So with all of that in mind, I was kind of curious the other day if there were any records out there that were set for how fast you can actually build a home. Yes, that's how my brain works. I think I have a problem. And I was pretty stoked to discover that there's actually quite a few records that have been set over the years for homes that were built in less than a day, with the fastest house I could find being built in just 2 hours and 52 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. A brand new home from the ground up was built in less than 3 hours. Now, naturally, I was a little bit skeptical when I saw these first couple of headlines because there's probably some ways to cheat the system here. Like, for example, if you prefab a house in a big factory, then you build it on site in a few hours, I wouldn't consider that to really count as a world record situation. But what's amazing is that after I dug into it a little bit further, these houses that set these records actually did everything totally legit. Like, just to give you guys a little bit more perspective on how long some of this stuff takes, the concrete here, it took a small crew, like maybe 8 total hours worth of work to pour this foundation. It was maybe 2 weeks worth of work for the framing, but that was also with a very small crew. With a bigger crew, we could have framed this house way faster. All the electrical work around here, this was like 2 days worth of work for 2 guys. And all the sewer lines, plus all the water lines around this house, same idea, just a couple days worth of work for a couple of guys. So you guys get the point. I'm sitting here doing the math and thinking, okay, I've been working on that house for like 6 months now, but how many months worth of real work has actually happened over there? I mean, I don't know, maybe a month's worth of work in total, and that's with an average crew size of like 3 to 10 guys. And the biggest thing setting me back over there is manpower. I mean, if I had 50 times the guys over there at the house, then would that still be a month's worth of work? Probably not. With that many guys on site, I probably could have made all of this progress in just a couple of days. Okay, so there's 3 projects that stand out in the history books that either set the record or attempted to set the record for world's fastest home built. All of them are actually documented on YouTube, so let's check them out together. So the first one is titled the 4-Hour House, but they actually built this place in 2 hours and 45 minutes. This house was done in San Diego way back in 1983, so the footage isn't perfect, but it's pretty cool that the footage is still out there on YouTube.
Today from San Diego, California, world record competition. An attempt to build a complete house from the ground up in 4 hours. The standing world's record is 4 hours and 18 minutes set 1 year ago. Now today, 2 teams will compete with each other and with the clock.
Look at that, there's all these people out there in the audience. How cool would it have been to be there sitting in the audience on this day?
Here's a schedule of the entire 4 hours, everything that they're going to be doing. Set the rough plumbing at 8:04, place the steel reinforcements at 8:09.
So that makes sense. They basically have this whole schedule lined out minute by minute. There's probably like 500 guys just on standby waiting for their time slot, and as soon as that time slot hits, they probably run in, they hit a few things, they leave, and then the next guy comes back in. It's got to be a super efficient schedule for this to work out.
With the walls, when they bring the walls in that are being built now in other areas here on the site, they've all got to match up or there's a lot of trouble. Keeping in mind, the building inspectors are here in referee shirts, much like an NFL football game. They're going around ready to blow the whistle if they have to have them pull out something that can be pulled out and start over if there's a problem.
So see, they are actually building the walls on site, so that's good. And I love how they've got these building inspectors running around in their referee shirts, because I guess people are going to be living in these houses, so it is important that they don't just build the house fast. It's got to be inspected and built to code.
That concrete is hot.
What the hell are they doing there?
This is absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure there's concrete guys, there's framers, there's electricians, and there's plumbers all on site at the same time. In the real world, they would be driving each other crazy, but here they're all aiming for the same trophy, I guess, so they're able to work together.
We'll see them lift up the walls, move them over, put them onto the concrete. At that point, the house really starts to take shape.
So now we've got the roof going on, we've got more wiring happening inside, we've got siding going on, the windows are being installed. It's just unbelievable. It's so cool to see all these things happening at once. It had to have been a nightmare to coordinate this.
They have to nail down and secure the drywall here. There'll have to be taping, of course, much like if you've ever had a house built or seen this happen. A lot of work that normally happens over several days and hours. Again, the entire house.
So drywall, tape, texture, and then eventually paint is happening too. Now we've got all the finishes, so the cabinets, the countertops, the sinks, the electrical panel, the flooring. Like, this is going to be a 100% finished house. And they're even doing landscaping.
A lot of things are going on inside there right now to finish things up. There's the final gun. I think that's it.
Did we tell you? You were skeptical? Didn't think it could be done in 4 hours? It wasn't. 2 hours and 45 minutes.
2 hours and 45 minutes, you guys. They did it. Super impressive. If you want to watch the time lapse or this whole video yourself, then just search this up on YouTube. I only showed you guys like a couple of the highlights throughout because we need to get to the next one. But yeah, for 1983, they did a pretty solid job. Okay, next we've got a house that was built in 2002. I think this one was done in 3 hours and 25 minutes. The video is a lot shorter. The build was by Habitat for Humanity. If you've never heard of Habitat for Humanity before, they're pretty much a non-profit organization that helps families either build or renovate homes. Let's check out how this one turned out.
My name is Bonnie. This is my son Jerome and my daughter Jackie. When I started working with Habitat, I enjoyed the project so much, and I thought, well, I just keep working and it just paid off tremendously. It's just a blessing to be able to be a part of something. 3 hours and 30 minutes. Who knew? Who knew?
So that's cool. They show Bonnie. She's the one I guess they're building this house for, because that's how their whole model works. I think it's like you basically, if you're someone who is eligible for a Habitat for Humanity house, then you actually have to participate in helping to build that house in order to get it. Okay, so obviously the format of this video is way different. It looks like those walls were already built or prefabbed in a factory, so I'm gonna call them out for that. I think that's kind of cheating, but let's see the rest. But the roof's being put together piece by piece, so they get credit for that. So they're showing us carpet, trim, interior doors, windows, obviously same idea. All that's happening at the same time, but they are flying through this. We're already an hour 41 in. Hey, and this house comes with landscaping too, which I guess that's reasonable. I mean, that is part of the property.
Our official time, 3 hours, 26 minutes, and 34 seconds. The new world record.
Sweet, so they're calling it a new world record in this video, which is kind of weird because that's not even as fast as the 1983 house. Plus, I'm pretty sure they cut a few corners and they had some of these parts of this house pre-built. So, like I said, I don't know if this one officially counts, but it's still pretty cool what they pulled off for that family. Okay, and last we have a home build that also set a record or got close to the record out of Texas. This one was famously called the 2-hour house back then, even though it technically took them 2 hours and 52 minutes to build this one. Let's check it out.
On this morning, thousands of spectators heard the sound of a new world record. At 8 a.m. on October 1st, 2005, years of planning were put to the test.
On your mark, get set, go!
That's the trick right there is, yeah, they might have built this house in 3 hours, but he just called it out. It took them years of planning to even pull this whole thing off. So did you really build a house in 3 hours when it took you a few years to plan? I don't know. There are just hundreds of guys here digging the footings, getting the concrete ready. This is insane. Of course, they're already starting to build the walls over off to the side while the concrete's going down, and I have no idea how they're gonna get that concrete to cure fast enough to be able to frame up these walls. And it's the same thing as the last one. As soon as they set that roof, which they built off to the side, they got started on the fascia, the siding, the windows. I mean, it's like bam, bam, bam. So I'm seeing insulation, wiring, the HVAC system is going in, the finishes are starting to go in, like they brought some toilets in there. So it's kind of the same idea as the first video we watched. They've got just hundreds of guys who are probably working to a minute-by-minute schedule just to pull this thing off. This one comes with landscaping too. They did it, I mean, we saw on the exterior anyway, they got the roof on, they got the garage door on, all the landscaping's done. I wish we got to see some interior photos. I'm kind of curious what that looks like. It's probably the most basic finish package ever, but I'm assuming based on the comments and stuff that the flooring and cabinets and countertops and all the electrical finishes, everything's actually inside this house and installed. I mean, quite honestly, I think the coolest part about all of this is the fact that all of these construction workers in different trades were able to work together like this. From my experience, these guys are usually a bit territorial with their space when they're working on houses. Like the electricians, for example, don't usually like to work with the plumbers in the house, or if cabinets are going in, they don't necessarily like it if there's another trade at the house installing electrical fixtures. So the fact that they were able to not only pull this off, but they were also able to do it with hundreds of trades who are probably not only unhappy working together like this, but they're probably also competitors, is pretty sweet. I think out of the bunch, the most impressive build that we watched today was probably that one that was done back in 1983. I mean, you gotta think, back then we didn't have the same building processes that we have today, and we definitely didn't have a lot of the more efficient modern day tools that we're working with nowadays either. So it's pretty amazing to see that they were able to pull off a 3-hour build literally 40 years ago. Another thing I was really curious about was the longevity of these houses though. I mean, it's almost a guarantee that a house that's built this fast is going to have some defects with the construction. I found a guy in the comments section on one of the videos who went on a long rant, but he made some good points, like how in the world did they get the roof done in just 15 minutes? Did they even tape the windows and doors? Were any of the electrical boxes caulked? How did they get the cabinets level? What would they do if a door didn't fit exactly right? Stuff like that. He went on, but you guys get the point. There really are like a million things that go wrong when you're building a house, and so when those things inevitably went wrong when they're doing these record-breaking houses, what would they do at that point? Just turn a blind eye? I don't know. I do think it's really cool when people find ways to build homes better, faster, and more affordably. And there are companies out there who are using techniques to either prefabricate homes in a factory or use different, less expensive building materials to build houses. For now though, anyone out there who's thinking about buying a house, I would recommend that you build a house with a standard contractor on a standard timeline with a standard inspection process, which I guess this is a good time to remind all of you first-time home buyers who are out there that if you are going to be buying a house anytime soon, remember to click that link down in my description to get signed up on the waiting list for my first-time homebuyer training that I'm going to be releasing pretty soon. That's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time.